Hi there guys, it's Alec here and today we are going to do some fun accounting stuff, and I just absolutely love accounting, and especially looking at the T accounts of how it's processed through to your GL. So I think any accountants out there will also quite enjoy this. Any data analyst, I think it's very important as a data analyst to understand how your ERP system processes through to your GL. Alright, so this specifically would be on a Pastel Partner, Pastel Xpress, or Sage 50 cloud database processing principle. And what I would like to show you is there are two reports in my BI app which auto-generates multiple reports, financial reports and statistical reports, etc. And two of them are called, the one is called a cash book statement over here, and the other one's called a cash book analysis. All right, so what is the difference between these two specifically? All right, so let me show you first. When we process a cash book, and this is a cash book payments processing within Pastel Partner, or this is a Pastel Express, but it's the same thing. But what happens over here is you are going to process transactions. All right, so here I've got 3 lines of transactions that are going to be processed, and these 3 lines basically have a certain impact on your GL. All right, so which I'm going to show you now. So let's just quickly run through this. We've got 3 lines. The first line was processed on the 1st of October. It was processed directly to your general ledger account. That's why it's got a G there. It's processed to 3,200, and it's got a reference here of ref 00001, and the description is bank charges, and it's got a VAT of 15, which means you have a VAT exclusive amount of 100, VAT inclusive of 150. All right, the second line is on the 2nd, that's the day later. You can process over multiple days. That's processed directly to a supplier's account, and that's got a reference of ref 00002, supplier payments in the description, and that's a 2,000 Rand payment. And the third line is on the 3rd of October, directly to GL again, 3,300, with a ref 00003 as reference, printing paper, and a 15 VAT type, and it's got a 200. All right, so let's see what the actual general ledger entries look like. All right, so the T accounts. All right, so what we've got here on the side is the T account. So I'm just gonna kind of like just put this screen over here for us so we can see it. And we've got our T account sitting here on the left hand side. Okay, so firstly we got our cash book control account, which is cash book 1, 8,400. Let me just quickly put the sub account there. Okay, then we've got our supplier control account, which is 9,000 usually in a Pastel environment. Then you've got your VAT control account, 9,500, 3,200, which is the bank's charges, and then there's the computer expense. Okay, so let's first have a look at this first entry. What happens to this ref 00001 bank charges? Okay, so what happens is you've got a debit that processes 2 bank charges, okay, on the debit side of this account, which will read 1st of October. It's got a reference of ref 00001, and it's going to process a description of bank charges, which comes from here, and it's going to process 100 Rand debit, which obviously is the exclusive amount. All right, what happens next? Well, on the 2nd of October comes the VAT control entry, which is going to be, well, it's this second leg here, a the 2nd of October, ref 00002, supplier payments, and 2,000 Rand. Third comes the third leg, or the third line item here, which would be on the 3rd of October, ref 00003, printing paper, and 200 Rand, which is that VAT exclusive amount. What happens next? Well, funny enough, mostly when your VAT account is set up, the normal setups of your Pastel actually does the following. It does a single entry, okay, a single debit, on the last day of that period, of that bucket, which is now an October bucket. So it would process at 31 October 2022 as a Z-Contras reference, and it's going to say Z-Contras tax entry. And it's going to process both that 15 Rand on line 1 and the 30 Rand on line 3 together. So you can imagine it becomes quite complicated at this stage to kind of like bind that 45 Rand across, that 100 and that 200 Rand over here. Becomes quite complex. Lastly, what happens? Well, a single line, this is the most times, this is the kind of default setup of Pastel. It processes a single leg to your cash book control account, a credit here, 2, 3, 4, 5, which obviously now balances this, and it processes on the last day of the lines here, which is the 3rd of October. It's going to process that, and it's also going to process it as Z contrast, again, quite difficult to bind all these legs, and then 2,345 Rand. All right, so now what is the difference, back to the question, between the cash flow statement and the cash book analysis? All right, so the cash book analysis looks into this account only and says what was processed to the control account. So that's nice for reconciliation purposes. All right. The cash flow statement looks at everything else. So everything outside of the cash book. So it'll show you what was actually paid and received, in this case only paid, from a cash flow perspective in a detailed fashion. So you don't want to say we paid 2,345 Rand. That's firstly not true. You actually paid on the first day, you paid this 100 Rand with 15 Rand of VAT. You paid on the second day, you paid 2,000 Rand. On the third day, you paid 200 Rand with the 30 Rand of VAT. So that's a cash flow is detailed, while a cash book analysis purely gives you detail or entries into your cash books. Right, so if I pop over to my BI, you'll see that over here, and this is a demo environment where we've got 3 companies consolidated into one. And if I go and click here on cash book analysis, you'll see that it's going to show me all the cash books for these 3 companies. So it tells me company 1 has got 1 cash book, company 2 has got 2 cash books, and company 3 has got 6 cash books. And it's going to show me exactly the balances for each of these cash books. And if I don't go and double click and I look at the detail of these entries, you'll see that all of these entries have got this Z contrast to it, and it's all been processed to this account. All right. So let's go back to the cash book analysis and just remember this value. This value says 509,000 Rand overdraft. All right. So let's go. You can also click through to the cash flow from here. So 509,838. So this comes into your cash flow statement. Also 509, same amount. But look what we've got here. We've actually got details showing us what actually it's been spent on. So that 509 started with an opening balance of 148,000 Rand overdraft. And then we spent 13 million on creditors, trade and account payables. We received 21 million from trade and other receivables. And we can actually see quite a lot of detail here. If we go and open this and we say, show me who it was spent with, it says, well, you spent 12 million on trade creditors, which is that, that supply control account. And who did I actually pay? Well, you can actually see that. It's going to say we paid these entities. And it's going to say, but when did I pay these entities? You can even see dates coming through here. Okay. So now you can see when you double click, for instance, on the total here, which we did in the beginning, if you're going to double click over here, you're actually going to see none of the control account, the 8400 accounts. You're just going to see the detailed entries over here. Okay, so you'll see here the only entries you'll see where it is 8,400. These are opening balances, and the only other thing you may see is where let's see where we've got 8,400. You'll see those are only opening balances. That's why it's got no reference here, because the opening balance has been processed. So you will not see anything but your other legs, which, to get back to this example, would obviously be this entry. Okay, so you're going to see the same thing in these 2 statements, the same thing, just from the 2 different sides of the coin, which would be either in the cash book, all the entries there, but if you want to see the cash flow, the detail, which is where you're really going to do a lot of data analysis, that you're going to see in the cash flow statement. But just check it. All of this, in any case, balances to each other. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy that. Have a great one. Bye.